Welcome to this presentation on healing from narcissistic abuse. Today we are embarking on a journey towards self-restoration. Narcissistic abuse is a unique form of trauma that doesn't just hurt the heart, it erodes the very foundation of who you are. This journey isn't just about moving on from a difficult relationship, it's about reclaiming an identity that was systematically dismantled. We will explore how to transition from the chaos of manipulation into a life defined by peace, firm boundaries, and true self-worth. Whether you are at the very beginning of your journey or years into your recovery, know that healing is not just a possibility, it is your right. Let's begin by understanding the roadmap to recovery and the essential steps required to go from merely surviving to truly thriving. To navigate this complex journey, we need a clear roadmap. Our recovery is divided into three primary pillars. First, we must focus on understanding. This involves pulling back the curtain on narcissistic personality disorder and identifying the specific, often covert, manipulation tactics that were used against you. Knowledge is the first step to breaking the spell. Second, we move into safety. This is the practical stage where we implement protective measures like the no contact rule or the gray rock method to stop the ongoing hemorrhage of your emotional energy. Finally, we focus on healing. Here, we move beyond the abuser and look inward, utilizing therapeutic interventions to process trauma and navigate the four distinct phases of psychological recovery. By following this roadmap, we ensure that our healing is comprehensive and lasting. Narcissistic abuse is often referred to as the hidden epidemic because, unlike physical abuse, it leaves no visible bruises. It is a systematic psychological dismantling of a victim's self-worth. At its core, it is about the abuser's need for total control and narcissistic supply, the attention and emotional reaction they crave. This form of abuse is particularly insidious because it often alternates between intense affection and cold cruelty, a phenomenon known as intermittent reinforcement. This creates a state of chronic confusion and hypervigilance in the victim. You may experience symptoms like brain fog, chronic self-doubt, or emotional numbness. Understanding that these are natural reactions to an unnatural situation is the first step in realizing that you aren't crazy. You have been subjected to a highly effective form of psychological warfare. One of the most damaging weapons in a narcissist's arsenal is gaslighting. The term comes from the idea of slowly dimming a light while insisting to the observer that the brightness hasn't changed. In a relationship, this looks like the abuser denying your reality until you stop trusting your own senses. They may withhold affection to punish you or divert the conversation by questioning your credibility whenever you bring up a concern. They might trivialize your feelings, making you feel too sensitive or use flat-out denial of events that you know occurred. This creates a fog of confusion that keeps you tethered to the abuser as your only source of truth. Breaking the fog requires grounding yourself in external reality and recognizing that your memories and perceptions are, in fact, valid. Narcissistic relationships follow a predictable three-stage cycle. It begins with idealization or love bombing. This is where You are put on a pedestal, showered with affection, and told you are a soulmate. It feels like a fairy tale, but it is actually a grooming phase. Once you are hooked, the devaluation begins. The pedestal is removed, replaced by subtle insults, shifting blame, and backhanded compliments. You find yourself working harder and harder to get back to that initial love phase. Finally, the discard occurs. When the abuser has drained your supply, they may abandon you with cold indifference. Whenever the cycle often resets with hoovering, named after the vacuum, where they try to suck you back in with false promises of change, starting the idealization all over again. One of the most common questions survivors ask themselves is, why did I stay so long? The answer lies in the trauma bond. This isn't just an emotional tie, it is a biological addiction. The cycle of abuse creates extreme highs and lows that flood the brain with oxytocin during the good times and cortisol during the bad. This creates a chemical hook similar to substance addiction. You likely experienced cognitive dissonance, where you held two opposing truths. The person who loves you is also the person who hurts you. To survive, your brain often chooses to protect the abuser by rationalizing their behavior or blaming yourself. Understanding that this bond is a physiological response to intermittent reinforcement helps remove the shame and guilt often associated with staying in an abusive situation. If healing is a detox, then the no contact rule is the first day of sobriety. It is widely considered the gold standard for narcissistic abuse recovery. No contact is not a game to get the narcissist back. It is a protective shield for your nervous system. It means blocking phone numbers, emails, and all social media. It means avoiding mutual friends who might act as flying monkeys by reporting back to the abuser. Every time you peek at their profile or respond to a breadcrumbing text, you reset the clock on your withdrawal. The goal of no contact is to create a vacuum of silence where the abuser can no longer influence your emotions, allowing your brain to finally begin the long process of re-regulating itself. Healing from this type of trauma is not a linear process. It's a series of phases. In the first 90 days, you are in acute withdrawal. This is a physical and emotional crisis characterized by panic and insomnia. From month 3 to 6, you enter the stage of cognitive dissonance. You will replay memories and obsessively seek the why. From month 6 to 12, you hit basement grief. This is a profound, heavy sadness where you finally mourn the illusion of the person you thought they were. Finally, after a year or more, you reach integration. This is where your nervous system regulates and you reach a state of indifference. You no longer hate them, you simply no longer care. Respecting this timeline is vital to avoiding self-criticism during the slow days. Phase 1 is the most physically demanding part of recovery. Because your body is literally addicted to the stress hormones of the relationship, the first weeks of no contact feel like physical withdrawal. You may experience the shakes, extreme anxiety, or an obsessive need to check on the abuser. During this time, your primary goal is strictly safety and stabilization. This is not the time for deep self-reflection. It is the time for survival. Lower your expectations for productivity at work or in your personal life. Treat yourself with the same care you would give someone recovering from a major surgery. Use somatic tools like weighted blankets or grounding exercises to tell your nervous system that the lion is no longer in the room. In phase 2, the detective phase begins. You might find yourself spending hours watching videos about narcissism or reading books on personality disorders. While this can feel like an obsession, it's actually a necessary cognitive function. You are untangling the lies and gaslighting that define your daily life. You are finally seeing the mask fall. You are realizing that the idealization version of the abuser wasn't real. It was a curated character designed to catch you. The devaluation version, however, was their authentic self. This phase leads toward radical acceptance, the painful but freeing realization that they cannot change, they do not feel empathy as you do, and you will never get the closure or apology you deserve from them. As Dr. Ramani Darvasula, a leading expert on this topic, famously says, the opposite of love is not hate, it is indifference. This quote serves as the ultimate North Star for your recovery. When we hate someone, we are still emotionally tethered to them. They still occupy space in our minds and drive our heart rates up. This true healing is reached when the abuser becomes entirely irrelevant to your emotional landscape. They become like a stranger you see in a grocery store, someone you might recognize, but who has no power to move your emotions in either direction. This slide serves as a reminder that the goal isn't just to get over the pain, but to grow so much that the abuser no longer fits in your world. Integration is the stage where the focus shifts from the abuser back to you. For a long time, your life was like a planet orbiting their sun. Everything was about their moods, their needs, and their reality. Returning to the self means breaking that orbit. It occurs when you stop asking, why did they do this? And start asking, what do I need now? You move from being a victim of their narrative to being the author of your own. This is about finding the lost parts of yourself, the hobbies you dropped, the friends you lost, and the opinions you suppressed. It is a quiet, powerful homecoming where you realize that while they may have stolen your time, they could never truly destroy your essence. Standard talk therapy is often insufficient for narcissistic abuse. We need specific modalities that target the nervous system. EMDR and brain spotting are powerful for desensitizing traumatic memories, helping the brain move a stuck memory into the past. Somatic therapy is essential because trauma is stored in the body. It helps you release the physical charge of flight or fight energy. Cognitive behavioral therapy helps you dismantle the introjected voice of the abuser, those negative thoughts that say you're not good enough, which were planted by the narcissist. Finally, inner child work helps you address the early attachment vulnerabilities that may have made you susceptible to the narcissist's charms in the first place, ensuring you don't repeat the pattern. A common side effect of long-term abuse is egoism, the habit of taking up as little space as possible and having no visible needs. Reclaiming your identity is an active process of revoicing yourself. Because the narcissist punished you for having preferences, you must now practice having them. Start with small, safe choices. What music do you actually like when no one is critiquing it? What food do you want to eat? Practice saying no to small, low stakes requests to build your boundary muscle. Journaling is particularly effective here. It allows you to record your thoughts without fear or interruption or gaslighting, helping you reconnect with your own internal narrative and gut instincts. Boundaries are not walls to keep people out, they are gates to keep you safe. In recovery, we focus on three types. Physical boundaries mean controlling who has access to your body and your home. This might mean changing locks or blocking unannounced visits. Emotional boundaries involve protecting your inner world. You no longer share your deepest vulnerabilities with people who haven't consistently earned your trust. Finally, informational boundaries are key if you must remain in contact. This means an information diet where you only share necessary, logistics-based facts. By building these gates, you ensure that your energy is reserved for those who respect you, rather than those who wish to exploit you. When no contact isn't an option, such as when co-parenting or dealing with a narcissistic boss, we use the gray rock technique. The goal is to become as boring and unreactive as a plain gray rock on the ground. Narcissists thrive on emotional supply, whether it's praise or tears. By giving short, non-committal answers like okay or I see, you deny them that supply. You stick strictly to facts and logistics. If they try to bait you into an argument, you refuse to jade. You don't justify, argue, defend, or explain. You keep your personal successes and your struggles private. Eventually, the narcissist will get bored and look elsewhere for their emotional entertainment, leaving you in peace. As you heal, you develop what I call red flag radar. This isn't about becoming paranoid, it's about becoming discerning. You begin to notice when someone lacks empathy or how they treat people in service positions. You notice the speed of a relationship. Does this person seem to be in love love bombing you or pushing boundaries too early? You look for consistency over time rather than grand gestures. In the past, you might have rationalized these signs away. Now you recognize them as data points. Your radar is a gift from your past self. It is the wisdom you bought with your pain, and it will serve as your primary protective tool in all future relationships. Healing doesn't just return you to your old self, it can lead to post-traumatic growth. This is the concept that people can emerge from trauma with a higher level of functioning than before. As the chart shows, after the trauma point, there is a period of struggle, but the new baseline is often higher. You become anti-fragile. You possess a deeper level of empathy for others, a more robust set of boundaries, and an unshakable sense of self-worth because you know exactly what you are capable of surviving. You are no longer someone who can be easily manipulated. You have integrated the darkness of the experience into a powerful, light-filled future. Life after narcissistic abuse is characterized by a new kind of boring, and boring is beautiful. The craving for the highs of drama and the lows of the makeup cycle is replaced by a deep, soul-level desire for consistency and calm. You begin to value people who do what they say they will do. You build relationships based on shared values and mutual respect rather than trauma bonding, or a need to fix someone. You find that you have more energy for your career, your children, and your passions because you are no longer spending 90% of your brain power managing another person's fragile ego. You are finally free to just be. We have covered a lot of ground today, from the mechanics of the trauma bond to the heights of post traumatic growth. The most important thing to remember as we conclude is that you are not alone and you are not responsible for the abuse you suffered. Healing is a marathon, not a sprint, and it is perfectly okay if your progress feels slow. If you have questions or need further resources, please look to the National Domestic Violence Hotline or specialized therapists who understand the nuances of personality disorders. Thank you for your courage in being here today. You have already taken the hardest step, choosing yourself.